Hey everyone. So this video is going to be much longer than the other ones, and this is because we're going to create a class from start to finish together. As you can see, I want to create with you the Summoner class. So we have a list of 7 abilities that are going to make this class what it is. And from those 7 abilities, we have, for example, a curse, which is, a dot on the target. We have 2 summoning abilities, so we'll be able to have pets. And we will have a projectile one. We will have an aura, which is, a self buff. We will have a ground ability, also applying a dot. And we will even have a portal ability, which is going to teleport us back to the starting town. Because I thought, why not? I feel like it, fits pretty well with the summoner. So let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to show you what is currently done for the summoner class, and it's not much. What I did is I did create the summoner class here, and it just has a stat on it and a talent tree. And this class is attached to the human. So humans can be summoner, and that's why it's going to be presented to us in the UI when we create a character. So going back to the summoner class, you see that we have a stat which is being added to this class. And in this case, it is the summon count stat, meaning that if we go to stats here, and we look at summon count, we see that it starts at 1 for everyone. But the summoner class is going to start with an extra one, meaning that instead of 1 pet by default, we can have 2 at the same time, which is cool. And we also see that we have a talent tree attached to it. So if you go to general talent trees and the summoner tree, you see that it exists, but it has nothing in it. And this is where we will put all the abilities we create extra. So we will come back to this a bit later. So now let's go in game and let's check if I have an existing character. I don't, so I'm just going to create one and make it a summoner. Perfect. So as you can see, if I go to stats here, we have summon count at 2 now because we are a summoner, so that's cool. But other than that, we have nothing. If I go to the talent, we see the summoner tree, but there are no nodes in it, so we are not able to learn any abilities, nothing. So that's what we will be taking care of right now. Like I said, we have 7 abilities to go through, and the way I'm going to proceed to create all of those is exactly how I will do it myself in my game. It doesn't mean it's the best way, it doesn't mean it's the way you should do it, but I'm going to show you how I approach things, and maybe you like the process and you might stick to it. So what I usually do is I create all the effects first. Once I'm done with all the effects, I then create all the abilities. And for most abilities that does not require the visual part to work. So let me explain a bit what I mean by that. If I'm using, for example, a con ability, which is, dealing damage, for example, in a 90-degree angle in front of me, this ability does not need any particle or animation to work because this is just pure math function. So I am not going to create the spell visual for that. I'm only going to create the spell visual after. First, I make sure things works, and then I make things visual. But for things such as projectiles and ground abilities that actually does require some kind of object in the world to, check collision or execute math function based on their location, then I'm going to assign them, but I pre-made those, and we will make the others together. So before actually getting in the stats, if I create a new stat here, for example, and I will call this curse, you see that, of course, I could make it being magical damage, but I like my abilities to have some extra damage type, in this case, for example, fire or slicing. But you see that these are all we have so far in the demo. We have fire and slicing. And I feel like none of this is really matching for a summoner. So why don't we go ahead and start creating a new damage type? So for this, you go to settings, combats, and you add a new stat function. And here you simply replace, well, you can of course call this whatever you want, but this is a naming convention I'm trying to stick to for this project because I think it makes sense. But in this case, I'm just adding shadow damage, right? And I can just save. But that's not it. We still have to do a few things. So if I now go ahead and go to slicing damage, or to the stats, you see that we have slicing damage, slicing penetration, and slicing resistance. We will have to duplicate those 3 stats. Of course, you can make them from scratch, but duplicating them makes it a little faster. So I'm going to write shadow here with 1D and replace the display name also. You don't know, the display name is the name that's visible in the UI, and the normal name is what's visible in the editor for you. So this is still a damage type, of course. It's going to be in the magical category. This is just UI thing, so it doesn't really matter. It's not going to change how this stat works. And the function is now going to be shadow damage because we just added it. We can save that. We can now go to penetration, replace slicing by shadow. Put it to magical, and that's it. We can now save this. And we can go to resistance, replace slicing by shadow once again. And that's it. And now for the opposite stat, you see that we can assign the shadow penetration. So let me quickly explain to you what this means. So here we created 3 new stats. Basically, if or effect, now if you go here, for example, and remember if we make, for example, a curse effect, and you go here, you see that we can now select shadow damage. All right, so let me put you in context. Let's say we are playing our summoner and we are using the curse ability on the target, and the curse effect has shadow damage assigned to it, meaning that this ability is going to deal extra damage based on our shadow damage stats, right? So on top of the magical damage that can be, for example, dictated by intellect or whatever, on top of that, we will also deal shadow damage. Now, if curse is supposed to deal 10 damage total, for example, to this target, well, then if this target has 20% shadow damage, shadow resistance, my bad, it's going to deal 8 damage instead of 10, because, you know, we are reducing the damage, the shadow damage dealt by 20%. So in this case, it goes from 10 to 8. Now, if this, I'm going to go back to the resistance stats. So, like I said, we deal 10 shadow damage, the target had 20% resistance, so now it's 8 damage. But now, if the resistance stats, in this case shadow resistance, has an opposite stats assigned to it, and in this case penetration, after reducing the damage, so after calculating 8 damage, we will also check the shadow penetration start from the attacker, meaning that if we have shadow penetration, let's say that we had, for example, 10% shadow penetration, now instead of 8, it's going to deal 9 damage, because 10% of the shadow resistance is going to be penetrated or neglected by the penetration. So this is really cool, you know, in terms of design. It allows you to do all kind of cool things and have more depth to your itemization and stuff like that. Anyway, this is done. We have our shadow damage stat, shadow penetration, shadow resistance. So that's perfect. Now we can actually go ahead and create the effect. So let's create the curse effect. And this is going to have an icon because it's going to be a state which is visible on the target. It's going to be a damage over time, and it's going to last 6 seconds. It's going to be magical damage and shadow damage. It's going to deal maybe like 20 damage, maybe a bit more. Yeah, no, 20 is fine. And I want it to have 10% lifesteal. It's not going to stack on any, it's not going to stack, so we can't really stack it on the target. We can just save that. Perfect. Now, what else do we have to create? So we have those 2 soldiers, those 2 skeletons. These 2 abilities we will take care of at the very end. We will focus on all of that, and then at the end we will do the summoning. So let's create the purge effect. So the purge, and I'm going to call it damage. It doesn't need an icon because it's never going to be visible in game. It's going to be magical, shadow damage, and this is going to be something like 15, and this I want it to be 200 lifesteal, 200% lifesteal, remember? Might actually be a lot, maybe it should be 100 because I want it to go through units, so yeah, it might end up being quite a lot. So here, for the purge effect, we will assign a visual, which is going to be hit, shadow, logic. And this means that there are specific videos on that. I'm not going to go too much in detail right now, but what this means is every time this effect is triggered on a unit, it's going to trigger the pulse visual if there is one. So in this case, it's just, some particle effect I'm going to show you here in the scene. No, not this one here. So it's this particle effect here. So every time this effect is going to hit the target, this particle is going to be played on the target that was hit. So it's, just to make things look a little more interesting. So that's it. We now have the purge one. The shadow aura. So this is a different type of effect. It's going to be a stat effect. And this we need an icon. Not sure exactly what I want to use. Maybe this, or maybe the helmet instead. So this is not going to be damage, it's going to be a stat, as we said. It's going to last 8 seconds. It is a buff. And it's going to add 2 stats. So first it's going to add health, 25%. And then lifesteal, 25% also. And it's also not going to stack. That's it. Nothing else we need for this effect. Cursed ground. So this is going to be something a little bit like curse. So we can go ahead here and duplicate. And we will call this cursed ground. This is also going to have an icon because it's going to be visible, when it hits an enemy. And this is not a buff. It's going to last 12 seconds. And it's going to be a total of 12 damage. It's not going to have any lifesteal. And it's going to have 12 pulses. And I just realized I forgot to do one thing very important with the curse one. So this is 6 seconds, and we forgot to assign the amount of pulse we want it to be. In this case, I want it to be 6 pulse, meaning that it's going to last 6 seconds, and every 1 second is going to deal damage. So the full damage, 20, is going to be split in 6. Curse ground is going to be a bit similar, but over 12 seconds, for 12 damage and 12 pulses. What could be fun for this ability is if we make it scale on our maximum health. So maybe you could, start a build which is a kind of tanky summoner. So in this case, we will do like 5% extra damage. 5% of our maximum health as extra damage. So it might actually be worth, kind of building on health and doing some crazy nice AoE damage. And that's it. Curse ground is done. And now we need the portal ability. So portal, it does not need an effect, it's not visible in game. It's going to be of type teleport, and it's going to teleport us to the demo scene and in the starting area, which is about those coordinates. This of course can be anything you want, and we can save that. And that's it. We created all those effects except the summoning, which we will do at the end. Perfect. So now let's go to the ability part. So we will create the curse one. Assign the icon. This one is going to be known automatically. It's not going to have any cast time, and it's going to be a target instance. So this is going to be something you can use on your target. So you need a target to use it, right? It's going to be possible to use on neutral enemies, neutral units and enemies at 25 meters maximum. And it's going to have a 3-second cooldown. The effect applied is going to be curse, of course, and it's going to be 100% chance. We don't really want it to miss or anything. And that's it. Like I said, I'm not going to assign any animation or particle now. We will do this later. So the curse is done. Let's make a cursed ground. That's going to be this icon, and this one is not known by default. This will need to be bought for 1 point. No cast time, and this is going to be a ground ability that eats enemy mobs. Radius is going to be about 3, 15 meters range maximum, 0 delay, 1 hit, and 8 units maximum hit. And 5-second cooldown. Those cooldowns extra are of course not balanced, it's mostly for testing. So if something doesn't work, or if we just want to make sure, or just use it a lot, then we don't have to wait forever between each use. But we can tweak this very easily later. So that's it. And in this case, I do need to assign the column shadow logic here, because this is what's going to help us detect the unit hits, but not the animation extra. We don't need this for now. So we have cursed ground. Now we need to make the purge ability. The icon is here. It's going to be also one point to buy. Cast time is going to be like 0.8 seconds. Let's make it possible to cast it and move at the same time, so that's fine. So that's a projectile ability, which hits enemy mobs. 35 speed for the projectile. It's going to spawn only one projectile. And it's going to go through enemies up to 3 targets, up to 3 times. Cooldown is going to be like 2 seconds. And I should not have stick this on, so this has to be off. When it's a cast time abilities, if this is on, the cooldown is going to be activated as soon as you start casting the ability, but that's not the case for this ability. We want the cooldown to only start at the end when it's used. So, and it's going to apply the purge damage effect when it hits an enemy. And in this case, we want a projectile to be spawned on completion. So we just drag and drop the projectile, the purge logic here, meaning that if this was on activate, as soon as we use the ability, the projectile is spawned, and that's not what we want. We want this projectile to be only spawned at the end of the cast time. And that's it. That's perfect. That's all we needed. Now we have the ground aura, the portal ability and the shadow aura. So let's make the shadow aura. This is going to be known, or maybe not. We just make it separated on the tree. No cast time. It's going to be indeed a self ability. As you see, self abilities doesn't have any settings. It's just going to be used on yourself, and maybe 15 seconds. So that's not too long for testing. And shadow aura. So yeah, it's just going to give us shadow aura. That's it. Nothing else to make. Now we have the portal ability. Let's make it maybe void portal. And what icon can we use? Not sure. Well, I'm just gonna use something. Maybe this. It doesn't really matter, honestly. It's going to cost 1. Cast time maybe 5 seconds. It's going to be a self ability once again, 15 second cooldown. And it's going to use the portal effect on us. And that's it. So that's literally all we had to do for all those abilities. And now we need a way, for them to be possible to be learned in game. So we need to add them to the talent tree, the summoner talent tree. So we will do just that. Let's add the curse one. So if you don't know what those tiers and slots things are doing, it's because you most likely didn't watch the talent tree video. I highly suggest you to watch it because I'm not going to explain it all again. But basically this is, if you didn't know, like talent trees in RPG Builder, I made them possible to be 100% generated for you, meaning that you just have to define this in the editor. And when you go in game, you will see that the talent tree UI, was generated for us. And the tiers and slot is what is deciding where this node is in the talent tree. Anyways, there is a video for that. So this is going to be at the middle. This is not going to have any requirements. Curse ground is going to be second tier, second slot. Then we'll have the purge, which is going to be second tier, 6th slot. And maybe the shadow aura. This one is going to be, I guess, above the purge. So maybe 4, 6, and this is going to require 1 point spent plus the purge ability to be known. So you cannot learn the shadow aura if you didn't spend at least 1 point in this tree, and if the purge ability is not known. And here we have the portal, which is going to be 5, 1. And that's it. Maybe it's going to require 2 points spent in this tree. So that's it. Now we can save. And as you see, the summoner tree, which is attached here now, is going to be visible in game. When we previously went in game before, we had no abilities, but now, as you can see, of course, there is backdating, so we don't need a new character or something. You can just go here, go to talents, open it, and you see that those abilities that we didn't see before are now visible. And like we just talked about, we have this UI which was generated for us. I didn't, go in my canvas and make this. This is generated by RPG Builder based on those tiers and slots. Anyway, you see that we also, have some nice little tooltips for those abilities and so on. So I'm just going to go ahead and learn them and then drag them on my action bar. And we'll be able to test them. So first we have the curse, which, as you can see, it requires a target, so I can't use it right now. But if I do target an enemy, I can use it on him and just, apply the curse to them. So this is working perfectly. Then we have the ground cursed or cursed ground ability. So when you use it, first it's showing you this ground area, and when you use the ability, it is now doing exactly what it was supposed to do. So in this case, applying this dot to all enemies. I'm going to go full screen so it's a bit better. These abilities, also work in first-person shooter. So you can aim like this at the ground, just like so, and it's going to work the exact same thing. And you can also target and target a unit, and use it so. Now we have the purge projectile. So let's see if this is working. We didn't assign any cast animation, but as you can see, it is indeed working and we are getting healed. You can see the lifesteal on the side for some of the damage, so 100% in this case. And like I said, this projectile is supposed to be able to hit 3 units maximum. So you can see that it stops at the third one. So yeah, pretty cool. This works perfectly also. And then we have the shadow aura. So if I use it now, you see that my health went up by 25%, and I'm also getting healed more. So without the shadow aura up, it's 15, and with the shadow aura, it's 18 health. So we do have more life still. Perfect. And now we have the portal, which is 5-second cast. And this should teleport us back to, well, pretty much a few meters away from here. And this also worked perfectly. So that's great. We can now focus on, well, we have a few things left to do. So we have, of course, to add some animation, some effect for some abilities which don't have them. This one is nice, of course, but we have an animation to add for the cast time of the purge. We have maybe a shadow aura effect that would be nice, because for now we have the UI here, but we don't have any kind of effect and aura on us. The curse one could also be, this actually would be easily made visible if I go here, effect, curse, and here I could assign in the pulse visual the hit shadow logic and save. And you see we don't have to restart the game. I can just now use it, and it is, every time it's pulsing, it's going to do just that. So now, few things. Like I said, animation and so on, but we also have a big part left. We need to spend some time on your summons. So we need the soldiers and mage. For that, I'm going to go in the demo scene just to show you what I predefined here, because otherwise the video would be way too long. And we will go to NPCs, humanoids, and here we have the skeleton mage pet and skeleton soldier pet. So they look pretty cool. These models are from Polytop Studio. So yeah, we have those 2 pets, and what they are is, and this one actually needs to be pet also. What they are is just, some normal NPCs with just their own settings and so on. But what we need to do, you see that they do not have an NPC data here. So I'm going to just remove them. And I'm going to pick this as a pet. This is important. And make sure this one is also. Okay, perfect. So if we go back to the home, we don't really have to go back home, but I like to do my editor stuff in this scene. Now we need to create two new NPCs. The first one is going to be skeleton soldier. Maybe I'm going to call it raised skeleton soldier. And I'm going to assign the prefab here, which is the skeleton soldier pet prefab that I just showed you. The level is not going to matter because it is going to scale with the player. So this is going to be decided in the effect, but we can just assign level 1, for example. So it's going to be a mob type of mob. It's going to be allied to us. Aggro range maybe something like 20, or yeah, maybe 20. It's okay. 4 from target, 4 from owner, and 30 to reset the targets. Abilities and things like that we will do a bit later. It's not going to respawn. It's not going to reward any experience. It's not going to have any loot table, but it's going to have some stats. In this case, health. So like I just said, I want those pets to scale with my player, meaning that if I am level 10, those pets, when spawned, are going to be level 10. So the base value is going to be maybe, the base max value is maybe going to be something like 200. And then it's going to have like 40 extra per level. Maybe even more for the soldier. 300. No. Yeah, it's okay. 240 extra per level. And no ROM value. We don't really care about that. I'm also going to increase the movement speed a bit. So value is going to be maybe something like 8. And that should be fine. Or maybe I'll just add some strength to make it stronger. So strength. In this case, strength in my setup, it's increasing the physical damage, but for you, it could do anything you want. The base value is maybe going to be like 10. And each level is going to give an extra, maybe 5 or something. 3, I don't know. Something like this. Doesn't really matter, honestly. Like this demo, this video is not really made to be perfectly balanced. So we can now duplicate that and call this Rage Skeleton Mage. We have to replace the prefab. This is important, of course. And that's it. Maybe the aggro range can be, well, also 20. We will keep all of that to the same. And maybe this could be 10, so it stays further away from the target, or at least it tries to. And for the health, it will start with half the health and get half per level. So it's much more, much weaker, you know, but most likely it's going to be a lot stronger. So in terms of damage, you know. And it's going to have 15 intellect and 5 per level. So it's definitely going to do more damage. Perfect. Now, what do we miss? We need an effect, well, actually 2, 1 for each pet, that is actually going to spawn them. So we will call this Raise Skeleton. And this is going to be a pet effect here. And the prefab is going to be what we just looked at. So in this case, the soldier pets. It's going to spawn 1. And I'm going to leave the duration at 0, meaning that it's going to stay as long as it's alive. And here you can see that we can tick character scaling, which is really important. In this case, it's going to, if this is off, it's going to spawn at the NPC data level. If this is on, it's going to spawn at the character level. So perfect. And here I'm going to duplicate that. Raise mage and replace the soldier prefab with mage, and that's it. Now, important, we need to go to the soldier prefab, and here we need to assign the NPC data. In this case, soldier. That's it. And here's the mage, and that's just all we have to do. So this editor data from the NPC is now connected to the prefab data, right? So they can, you know, kind of know about each other and work together based on the values we have. So we now have those 2 effects, but that's not all. Like right now, I could go ahead, create the abilities, spawn them, but they will not be able to attack. So we will do 2 more effects. One is going to be Raised Soldier AA, which is going to be the auto attack of the Raised Soldier. It's going to be physical damage, maybe slicing damage, and it's going to do something like 18 damage as a base. And now Raised Mage AA, also instant damage, magical damage, shadow damage, and this is going to be 25, maybe even more, maybe 30. Okay, so that's it. We can now create their abilities. So Raised Soldier AA, And so this is not going to have any cast time. It's going to be a target instance. So this is going to attack its current target. Maybe like 4 range, 1 hit, 2-second cooldown, and it's going to apply the Ray Soldier AA damage. And for the animation, I'm just going to assign the generic NPC animation, which is going to trigger their kind of auto attack animation. Perfect. So that's it for this ability. Now we can create the raised mage AA. This one is going to be casted for 1 second, or maybe a bit less, maybe like 0.8. It's going to stand still for 0.9, and it cannot move and cast at the same time. This is going to be a projectile ability, so it's not going to be like targeted. It's going to be a free projectile that enemies can dodge and that the caster can miss, which is going to hit enemy mobs. 50 as speed maybe, and 1 projectile only, and hit only 1, so it's going to get destroyed as soon as it starts. And this is going to be 2-second cooldown, and applying the raised mage AA. Animation, I am not sure. Okay, I'm going to use this one too. And when it comes for the projectile, I think I'm going to use the same as the purge one. And complete it for now. Later we might make, you know, a custom projectile visual for this ability, so that our pet doesn't have the same projectile as us. And that's it. So now we have those 2 new abilities, and we can go to Raise Skeleton Mage, add 1 ability, assign the Raise Mage ability, save, Soldier, Raise Soldier Auto Attack ability, and that's it. We can save. Now, we created those Raise Soldier AA, Raise Skeleton and Raise Mage effect, but we didn't create the raised abilities. So we need to create those 2 abilities. Raising Soldiers. And I'm going to use this icon here. It's going to cost 1 to unlock. It's going to, no, it's not going to take any cast time. It's going to be a self ability, so it's, you know, casting on us. 5-second cooldown maybe, and applying the raised skeleton effect on us. That's it. No particle, no animation for now. Raised mage, raising mages, and this one is going to use this one, this icon. The raise mage effect, and that's it. Now we need to add them to the talent trees, right? So here, raising soldiers. This is going to be on the 3rd, maybe 3rd tier. We don't have much on the 3rd tier. Don't have anything actually, so that's perfect. And at the middle. And this is going to require maybe 1 point spent. And now raising mages on the 4th tier. 4th. We have something on this tier. 4th. Nope, we don't. So that's perfect. And this is going to require 2 points spent. And the soldier ability to be done. Of course, the requirements I'm doing right now is you can just have 0, you can have whatever requirements you want. You see the list is quite big. It's just, you know, to have a nice looking tree with some lines and some kind of connections. And that's it. We can now save and go back in game. So we now have those 2 new abilities, the raising soldiers and raising mages. As you can see, we also unlearned the others because the RPG builder logic realized that the talent trees changed, so it reset all our points. We got them back extra. We didn't lose anything, but it let us reassign our points. So now I'm still going to assign all the other abilities. And those 2 new ones. So first I'm going to spawn the soldier. As you can see, it's our pet now, and it's following us, etc. And you see that when we spawn a pet, we have this pet panel here. So they can be in two modes. The stay one, of course, it's just going to stay here. If I put him back to follow, he's going to come back following me. And the defend mode is only going to attack enemies when we get hit by them. And aggressive mode is also going to aggro mobs. Something else also, you see that at the bottom we have this health bar. This is showing the current total health bar of all your pets. Of course, for now we only have one, so it's showing its full health bar. But if we had multiple, it kind of gives you an idea of the average health your pets currently have. And also below it shows that we have one summon out of two, because remember that we could spawn 2 total now. And that's actually what I'm going to do with the mage. And and the mage seems to have some kind of animation issue. Okay, so let's look at what's wrong with this mage. We couldn't make like one video without a bug. It's not normal. So the soldier and the mage, what's happening here? Skeleton mage. Let me check what's wrong. It's most likely an animation, like the animation clip issue, I would say. Let me quick check. So skeleton mage animator, we have the correct avatar, I would say. Yes. Soldier. Oh wait. Yeah, okay. That's it. So we need those new animations assigned for what I'm gonna do just quickly so we can test the abilities first, etc. I'm just going to assign the same animator for the mage and the soldier. So when he plays his kind of target ability, like the projectile, it's going to play the melee ability, but it's okay. Anyway, so if you see, if I attack this, it's still not going to do anything. But now, if I put them to aggressive, they will aggro the first target they have in front of them, or the nearest one. But as you can see, it did aggro this one. And we have the soldier doing his auto attack, playing the animation and dealing the. You see the orange damage combat text is a physical damage, and the mage one is casting this projectile, and it's indeed hitting these enemy targets. So I think we didn't assign the animation on the raised soldier, raised mage AA, or we did. On activate NPC melee animation. But we need to, make it use like an actual casting animation, because right now it's not really not looking great. But as you can see, what matters as always is that things like that works. Another thing I want to show you before getting to the next part is I want to go ahead and create a new item, or maybe just modify one. Let's say the maybe the mace, summoner mace. Okay, so I actually made one before. Okay, so you see, I'm just going to make it to 1. Perfect. So you see, we have the summoner mace item here, and doesn't have anything special except the stats. On it, it has a summon count. So each of those mace, once equipped, give us +1 summoner, summon count. So I'm going to show you how that works. It's quite straightforward, but just to show you how quickly you can iterate on your characters and so on. So if I spawn like 1 soldier now, we see that we are 1 out of 2. I spawn a second one, it's 2 out of 2, but of course now I cannot spawn a third one. So to do that, if I wanted to make some kind of summoner build, you could have some items in your game, and have them have some of the stats. So if I now equip this mace, or those two, I can spawn a third one and also a fourth one, because I am now at 4 total. So pretty cool. Let's try to go fight some mobs. I'm going to keep them defensive so that you see how it works. Now he attacked us, so of course now they went to him and attacked him. So pretty cool. I'm just going to make them aggressive, I guess, and let them just have fun. So we can just, you know, go around, get the experience from the kills, get the loot, just like, you know, your usual pet builds in ARPGs or RPGs is usually kind of funny how they just go around, kill everything for you. So that's it, pretty cool. Now, concerning the missing effect, abilities, animation, not abilities, but like animations and things like that, I don't think I'm going to do it in this video actually, because it starts to be quite long already, 40 minutes. But I'm going to make maybe a following videos. But anyways, these kind of things are already covered on the channel, and it's already possible to see how to create the spell effect animation. There are, you know, dedicated videos to that, so it's kind of pointless to cover something 2 times. What mattered is that you see that each of those mechanics, you know, worked. We had a weird animation bug, but this is nothing really related to RPG Builder. This is something I have to look into and see what did I do wrong in the animator for the image. But that's it. Pretty cool. So thank you for watching, and look at them go. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.